depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of Voice of Radio. So today we've got a very, very big update about Raging Surf, which I suppose means we've got a very, very big update about Paradox Rift. Because, of course, Raging Surf is just kind of come out as Paradox Rift over here. We've got some new secret rares, which are amazing, but we need to start with this new Jirachi. This new Jirachi is silly good. And we were expecting a good new Jirachi, right? Jirachi is one of the Pokemon that features on the booster pack of the set. And when Pokemon feature on the booster pack of the set, they generally tend to be very good. Don't look at Groudon from this set, ladies and gentlemen. Although, to be fair, the artwork rare of that Groudon is stunning. The attacks of the Groudon are, well, I think less inspiring is the polite way to put it. This Jirachi, there is nothing less inspiring about this Jirachi. This Jirachi is immense. I mean, I'm just going to put it out there as a Sableye counter. Pokemon have looked at Sableye like I've looked at Sableye and gone, hang on a second, mate. This is a problem. This card is too good. This card is ruining things. Let's just print a really over-the-top, explicit counter to Sableye. And they must have done that because this is a really explicit, over-the-top counter to Sableye. Now, I did largely do the translations myself, although I did need a little bit of help from the lovely Antoine Boulet about the ability here. And this Jirachi is a common. A very easy to pull common. And the ability reads like this. If an effect of an attack from your opponent's basic Pokemon would put damage counters on any of your benched Pokemon, prevent that effect. It does not say that Jirachi needs to be active. If Jirachi needed to be active, this would be rubbish because Jirachi's attack is garbage. Okay, maybe that's the uninspiring bit of Jirachi. But it doesn't say it needs to be active. If Jirachi is on the field, it's a basic Pokemon, it's a common, so it's easy to pull. It's a basic Pokemon, so it's easy to get onto your bench. As soon as it hits the bench, your opponent can't drop damage counters. And like the whole point of Sableye is you get 10 cards in a lost zone and then you drop 12 damage counters and then you kind of chuckle to yourself because now I'm wrecking decks. And evolving decks have a huge problem with Sableye. Like I've been trying to make Zoroark decks work for, well, let's just say since Evolving Skies came out. And one of my biggest problems every time is that it takes a hard loss to lost zone because Sableye just wrecks you. Because it can take out like 2 evolving basics at once. It's a massive problem. Here, fine, you've got to give up a bench space, but you whack Jirachi on the bench, and yeah, now you're fine. And make no mistake about it, this is an explicit counter. This is Drapion against Mew, which ironically came out in the same set that gave us Sableye, which was another big problem. But it's that level of counter we're talking about here. Like, don't get me wrong, there are some other things it does, we'll talk about them in a second. But Sableye, we all know that Sableye can be a problem. I personally believe, and I've told you this in videos many times, that Sableye restricts deck building, and I don't like it. I genuinely think it's an issue in the game. So to print a counter like this that specifically stops basic Pokemon dropping damage counters, I'm not saying the only thing it stops is Sableye, but I am saying 100% I refuse to believe it is anything other than the card designers going, oh mate, yeah, we need to stop Sableye, that's a bit silly. Now, as a side note, the wording here is very, very important. It stops you placing damage counters. So something like Cresselia, also from Lost Origin for what it's worth, that moves damage counters. You would be fine. You can move damage counters with Cresselia, that's not a problem. What you cannot do here is place damage counters or drop damage counters with something like Sableye. That is the big difference, and that is a very, very important distinction. So yeah, this is a flat-out, hands-down 5 Wossie card without any question whatsoever. It is a basic Pokemon that stops Sableye. And it really is as simple as that. And for that alone, it is going to be an absolutely immense card. This one is going to be huge. As a side note, some of the other Pokemon it stops, Ting Lu. Remember, that stops abilities on Pokemon that aren't EX that have damage counters, and the attack drops 2 damage counters. It's not the only way that Ting Lu gets damage on the field, but it is one of the ways it can do so pretty easily. So yes, this will stop Ting Lu. Now, Ting Lu still does 150 to the active, but it won't drop damage counters on the bench. There are a few others out there. I don't know how many of them are too relevant. Obviously, Mimikyu's got Safeguard, which is really big, but remember, Mimikyu only drops damage counters on the active, and this only stops you dropping damage counters on the bench, so that's not going to be a particularly big issue. Mimikyu is just not going to care about this. Worth pointing out, but it's going to be okay, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to be okay. So in terms of playability, this was the big news this morning. This is the one that is going to absolutely shake up the metagame. This one is going to be absolutely huge. It is not the only thing they've gone and revealed this morning. How about Goldengo and Gimmighoul? We've got lovely artwork rares / special artwork rares of Gimmighoul and Goldengo. They're stunning. Komiyama here just knocking the artwork completely out the park. I am a huge fan of this. The Gimmighoul, I don't think I told you before, it's just flip a coin till you get tails, 20 for each head. It's not good, but I've told you many, many times, I love emergency attacks. There are going to be games where you lose unless you flip 10 heads in a row on Gimmighoul. And like 99.999% of the time, obviously it's not going to work. But there are going to be the occasional times where it actually does, and that's gonna be amazing and hilarious and brilliant. No, I am not suggesting this is a great card, but I absolutely am suggesting that it's nice to have an emergency attack. As for the Goldengo, we looked at this the other day, and I told you very clearly this is great. I don't think Goldengo is good. I think Goldengo is great. I think every few sets we get a truly great EX, which is going to make a gigantic difference to the game. I think Goldengo is one of them. And obviously I could be wrong. That's fine. I've been wrong before, ladies and gentlemen. I've been doing this a long time. I've made a lot of videos, but I honestly believe it's great. The ability is literally just the ability on Slurpuff back in the day. You can draw a card once during your turn, but if it's active, you can draw 2 instead. That was a good ability that saw a bunch of play. And then the attack is literally Blacephalon. You can discard any number of basic energy from your hand, and you do 50 more for each card discarded in this way. Okay, fine, it's not literally that, because Blacephalon specifically had to be fire energy. This doesn't, and this is for a single energy, and it's on a stage 1, not a basic. I have heard some people suggest this is the same as a Alolan Dog Trio, and maybe we shouldn't be excited because the Alolan Dog Trio was 0 energy and wasn't any good. No, this is not the same as a Alolan Dog Trio. Firstly, you've got the draw power. Secondly, you've got more than 60 HP. Seriously, that's embarrassing. And thirdly, there is a huge difference between 30 times and 50 times. A gigantic, immense, ridiculous difference between 30 times and 50 times, to the point where it's not even close. So yes, I saw all of you telling me that this was the same as a Alolan Dog Trio when I covered this card previously, before we had the fancy, amazing special illustration rare version, of course. But no, I don't buy that even for a second. I disagree incredibly strongly, partly for the fact that it's got the draw ability, partly for the fact that it's got significantly more HP, and mostly for the fact that there is a gigantic, huge, immense, ridiculous difference between doing 30 times the amount of energy discarded and doing 50 times the amount of energy discarded. I cannot stress enough how much of a difference that actually makes. It is not even close, ladies and gentlemen. Not even close. There we go. Now, we do have one more playable card that we can have a little bit of a look at this morning, and that is a new energy, which I've translated what it does. I've not actually translated what it's called. How rude of me, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go and have a little bit of a gander. Now, I was literally just called Medical Energy. Medicaru Energy. Sweet! That one was quite easy. And it's just a colorless energy that you attach to a Pokemon, and then if you do, you heal 30. So it's an energy that heals 30 damage as you attach it. It's fine. There will be decks that love this. There will be a lot of decks that don't care about this. This is going to be one of those, it's basically a potion plus a boring energy. So the question is essentially going to be, how much does that 30 mean to you? Because there are probably going to be some decks that can afford to play it, where in some matchups, healing that 30 at some point actually makes a gigantic difference, and for those decks, this is going to be awesome. Outside of those decks, we get a lot of just special energy, which are one colorless energy plus an effect, that never actually make any kind of impact. This could easily end up being one of those. But there are going to be some decks where that 30 HP healed is going to make a bit of a difference, so I don't know. Let's have a look. I'm giving this just a very ordinary, everyday, run-of-the-mill free Wassies. I don't think it's particularly great, but I can see some decks making use of it as we go. And then we need to finish off having a little bit of a look at Riku. Now, this is another card which mechanically we've talked about before, but we've not seen this Rika, sorry, how rude of me. Rika! Oh, how many of you were shouting at the screen on that one? But it's one we haven't actually seen this particular version of. To be clear, this is the full art, not the special illustration rare. SR, not SAR, by the Japanese rarity symbols. And it's just awesome. Now, I mean, Rika as a card here lets you look at the top 4 cards of your deck, 2 go into your hand, 2 go to the bottom of your deck. It's a fairly low-grade draw supporter, if I'm honest with you. It's not huge or inspiring or anything along those lines, but it is an interesting card that I think some people will play here and there, but it is going to be a bit of a niche draw supporter in some decks, rather than a real staple for everybody. But look how wonderful the full art is. I mean, for me, the Gimmighoul, in this video, the Gimmighoul is a star artwork-wise, and obviously the Jirachi is a star playability-wise. And look, as far as I'm concerned, this is a pretty huge update, because we've got some fantastic artwork, but also, I mean this really sincerely when I say this, please don't think I'm exaggerating, this Jirachi is going to change the game. Lost Box decks see a huge amount of play, Sableye is one of the best tricks they have, and now every deck has a basic Pokemon that can turn Sableye off. Please don't sleep on how huge this is, ladies and gentlemen, because this is extremely huge. Right, there we go. That's what you need to know. And now it's over to you guys. Tell me what you think about this. Tell me if you think Jirachi is as big a deal as I do. Tell me if you love this Goldengo artwork. Tell me anything you want to tell me in the comment section. Go nuts! Be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWasi. That's where we talk about Pokemon and a whole bunch of other card games. And please do consider checking out patreon.com/PTCGradio, where you can support the channel, get some bonus podcasts, join the Discord, and all kinds of fun things. Oh, and get shoutouts on the channel, like the lovely Uber MX, who's been a supporter of ours for a while now and is a very lovely person. So shout out to them for the support and the loveliness. But by far the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.